Hey guys, it's Trevy the Great here with another Warhammer 40,000 battle report. I hope you all liked that awesome intro that I put in the beginning of the video. I felt like the beginning of my videos weren't very exciting, so needed something cooler to put in there, so that'll be on future videos as well. Comment and let me know if you like that thing and if you want me to keep going with that sort of intro dealy. This is obviously a Warhammer 40,000 battle report. It is Blood Angels versus Blood Angels, so a mirror matchup at 1,000 points. The scenario is Pitched Battle Annihilation, so very stock standard. What we might have a mirror matchup in terms of armies, but our lists are very different. I have a slightly more static and shooty list than my opponent. I have two tactical squads. They've got the basic missile launcher, flamer, and as well as a sniper rifle assault squad, and two assault squads. A sniper rifle scout squad and two assault squads. The assault squads have flamers and melta guns, so they can really deal with anything. They can take out infantry with those flamers, or put shots on vehicles with those melta guns. And then to top it all off, I also have a captain with a jump pack and a power sword that will be joining one of the assault squads. In my opponent's army list has a much more aggressive feel to it. He has two assault squads. Believe they both have two melta guns and a power fist. And then joining each, he has an independent character. He has a librarian in one of them and a sanguinary priest in the other. They are supported by a ball predator, so a very fast, sort of short to mid-range shooting vehicle. And then they're giving covering fire by by a devastator squad with 4 missile launchers in it. Now, the way they've deployed, this is obviously deployment. The Devastators have been deployed behind this building, so they don't really have line of sight to most of my army, whereas the rest of his army is deployed on my right flank. Now, the left flank of the board has been sort of completely ignored. I do have my scouts in a building. It's in the center of the picture, beyond the big building in the middle there. And they're going to try to put some wounds and possibly some pinning tests onto those Devastators and stop them from shooting, even though they don't have too many targets. If I can lock that unit down, that'll be a pretty big boost. Now, unfortunately, right off the bat, we both rolled Red Thirst for our armies, and my opponent got Red Thirst on both of his assault squads. And I got no Red Thirst rolls at all. So, starting off, I was sort of on the back foot because I really didn't have the same bonuses that my opponent did. So here's the game at turn 1. As you can see, our armies are sort of moving around, trying to get to grips with each other. We're doing a lot of maneuvering right now. I'm trying to get my assault squad behind this building to try to get out of range of his shooting and be able to maybe counter-assault if he goes for my assault squad, and possibly put some wounds on that predator if it tries to move up. So basically just a threat range unit, and see how that goes. My opponent has moved up. He's trying to go around my right flank here. That assault squad on the right there is probably going to come and try to take out my tactical squad, or my assault squad over there. Now, my opponent had an excellent round of shooting in the first turn. He killed 6 Marines out of my tactical squad, just because I could not make armor saves for the life of me. He also put a couple wounds on the scout squad that's off out of the picture right now. But the biggest thing he did was he cast Fear of Darkness from the Librarian onto my tactical squad that is now obviously not on the board, which caused them to take a leadership test or fall back. Now, they are Marines, so the leadership was 9, but I ended up... Oh, actually, sorry, there was a penalty for that because Fear of Darkness institutes a -2 penalty to that leadership test. So, they were at a leadership of 7, which is, on average, just about a 50-50 chance of passing, and they were about 6 or 7 inches from the board edge. So what ended up happening was that they failed the leadership test and they ran right off the board. So I ended up losing something around 16 Space Marines in the first turn of the game, which was a huge blow to my side. But I'll see if I can claw it back if he moves up, and I'll try to get those counter assaults. Although he does have a sanguinary priest and that Red Thirst, so he can counter assault me back and survive my attacks much more effectively than I can. So obviously I misjudged the distance between the two assault squads, which was a huge mistake on my part because it allowed him to assault me with that furious charging assault squad with that librarian. So obviously he's charged in. I've taken several casualties from those attacks, and the worst part is it's going to tie up my unit and allow it to be assaulted by that other assault squad if it gets time to move up and attack. So pretty much at this point, the board's gonna probably boil down to this one combat, and it's not looking good to me just because my opponent has so many combat bonuses, and I took a more shooty list, but it doesn't work out when half of your shooting units have already run off the board, so it's not looking too great for me right now. As you can see, my opponent's also moved that ball predator up to block my units from moving in easily. I've taken the assault cannon off, which has mitigated its offensive capability, but it does still have those 2 heavy bolters and the storm bolter, so it can still put out a lot of shots. They're not as powerful as they could be, but it's still a pretty dangerous machine. So this is my turn. Although my opponent moved that ball predator up, I was still able to get around it with my other assault squad and counter assault his assault squad over there that was fighting mine. I hoped that combined with the extra attacks from assaulting and the captain's attacks, I would be able to wipe out or at least try to break this unit from combat and basically get myself a little breathing room with this unit, try to redeploy and be able to counterattack in later turns. However, that didn't really work as I wasn't able to kill enough of my opponent's models, and he was able to kill a couple of mine. So the assault became pretty close at this point, which was very disappointing for me. Outside of this combat, not much has happened. My opponent's Devastator squad is pretty much occupied with shooting at my scouts, which they've killed most of them. The scouts really haven't done anything in return, which is really unfortunate. Every game I run them in, they don't really do a heck of a lot of damage, so I would really like to trade them for another model, probably a Sanguinary Priest with a jump pack. That would be an excellent option to take instead of scouts because it'll boost the combat effectiveness of my assault squads, which is something that they really need because obviously they haven't been able to do much damage at all at this point. I've also taken some more shooting wounds from the Predator with my last tactical squad. That's down to just a couple models, and my opponent's other assault squad's quickly moving around to assault one of my units. So really not looking good for me at this point. So here's my opponent's turn. His ball predator has moved off to continue to fire at my tactical squad and to allow his other assault squad to get into combat, which it has. It's done some serious casualties to my own assault marines, although it hasn't been able to break them yet, which is good. Although it doesn't look like I'll be able to survive much more, especially because my opponent now gets feel no pain in that area. So only my captain and my sergeants, who do have power weapons, will be able to really get wounds through reliably, and unfortunately I just don't have enough attacks to deal with the number of assault marines he has in right now. So unfortunately I'm gonna lose this combat. The tactical squad is not looking very good. The scout squad is down to just the sergeant, and it's pretty much game over from here. So there you have it. Both of my assault squads have been killed, and my opponent's assault squad has moved in to advance onto the tactical squad. Now I decided that the tactical squad isn't really doing much anyway, so it decided to assault the assault marines and actually did some damage when it went in. It actually did tie combat. It killed one enemy model and ended up taking one casualty in return, which was I think pretty funny that 3 tactical marines could tie up something like 10 or so assault marines. My captain is still in combat with my opponent's other assault squad and his librarian, so my captain actually does have not a bad chance of dealing some damage, trying to get some victory points back, but at this point it's not really going to do much because it looks like I'm going to get it wiped out here. You can see the scouts in the background still trying to fire at those Devastators, but just getting mowed down in response just because they don't have a good defense against those missiles, even though they are in cover. So there you have it. That's going to be the last picture of the game. Obviously, that assault squad has been able to wipe out my tactical squad. My scouts have been killed by the Devastators, and this assault squad is moving over to attack my captain. Now, my captain did kill both the librarian and the last assault marine in combat with him, so he did net 2 kill points for me, so it wasn't a complete shutout. But he's the only model on my side left on the board, so that's going to end up being probably a wipeout for me, and he gets eventually killed by the Power Fist in this assault squad. So it was a good game to my opponent. I did get smashed pretty well, but I didn't feel too badly about it. For those who noticed, I did play this opponent in the same Blood Angels army a couple weeks ago with my Grey Knights and utterly destroyed him with my enormous unit of Paladins. So I didn't really feel too badly about getting my face stomped in by his Blood Angels because I really felt that I deserved it after running that awful, awful Grey Knights army. Um, yeah, a couple other things I did. Obviously, I made a major miscalculation early on in the game. I moved in my assault squad up a little too far, which allowed him to assault me and really get that big assault in the middle going, which allowed him all those furious charge attacks and that those boosts that really made it tough for me to be able to do enough wounds to him to make my casualties back. So what I think I should have done is probably either stayed back and fired, or moved out, shorter, obviously, and tried to do casualties before my opponent got in, and then would be able to counter assault them with my tactical squad. The other thing is that my list was a little bit underpowered for this particular matchup. My list is generally very good in objective games where I have 5 troops choices, and really all of my units can try to contest or take objectives. I have those tactical squads to grab objectives in my deployment zone, and I can zoom around and contest or take my opponent's objectives with those assault squads. Although in an aggressive game like an annihilation game, my list really underperforms just because I can't really put enough wounds on people with my squads as they are currently kitted out. The tactical squads are pretty consistently underperforming in that they just aren't able to do enough shooting enough shooting wounds on things like Space Marines, especially with that feel no pain, to be able to make their points back. So I might consider dropping them for more assault units, possibly more specialized units like Sanguinary Guard or Vanguard Veterans. I do have a squad of Vanguard Veterans I could use, but we'll see how it goes. The biggest thing is that the Scout Squad in my army really never does anything, and I'd really love to change it for maybe a Sanguinary Priest or something that can boost my army a little bit more, because those scouts really aren't being very useful as it is right now. They might do 1 or 2 casualties. With that ballistic skill of 3, they don't hit very often, and without those camo cloaks, they don't really have enough survivability to be able to take enemy fire and hold against it. So I'm gonna change my list around a little bit. I need to buy more models in order to run that list, and I don't really want to do that until I finish painting the ones I have. And I don't really want to finish painting the ones I have till I finish some other projects that I'm working on. So it might be a little while, but I'm really enjoying this army as it is. I really like very maneuverable armies, and Blood Angels is really no exception. It is a very fast army. It requires me to think a lot about how I'm going to tactically deploy my my assault squads and commit them to fight enemies that really they have a good chance of beating. So I'm loving this army. Good game to my opponent. And stay tuned for some more awesome Warhammer 40,000 battle reports. Thanks, guys.